Please make me co-host.
There you go.
Thank you.
Hi, Carl. How are you? Good to see you. Hi, Fred.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Fred.
Hey, Carl.
Hi, Jacqueline. Hi, John. Hi, Mary. And there's Melinda.
Hey, Russ. How are you?
I'm very good.
Well, here we are.
Here we are.
Hey, hell, the gang's all here.
Hi, Lily and Kelly and John.
Hi, Russ. Nice to see you.
Hi, Russ.
Hey, Russ.
Hi, John. Hi, Jody.
Hey.
I like your books.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thanks. My problem.
And we have someone named iPhone. Can we rename you? Hi, Natalie. Perfect.
Hi.
Well, this is going to be fun tonight. Got a good class to learn. We'll give it a 1 or 2 more minutes. Anybody here planning a trip?
It's hard.
Fred, what are you thinking?
Road trip to San Francisco and points beyond.
Okay.
I just been on 2 trips. I've been to Georgia, I've been to New York City, and now I'm getting ready to go back to Georgia. What is it? July 10th.
Okay.
Anyone ventured outside the country?
I'm thinking about it.
No, nervous.
Hi, Donna.
I'm
Well,
thinking about it.
It's risky right now. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. Europe has announced its opening to American travelers. We'll talk about that tomorrow night's class, 7:30. When can we go where? We'll look at the latest announcements.
Oh, cool.
Hi, Donna.
Hello. I saw you this morning.
Yes, you did. You were in our Google Slides class.
Melinda
which
was there too. I remember,
Melinda-
at least Melinda was there, maybe others.
Yep.
Melinda was there. That was a fun class. That class, I basically had to just end it because we'd gone over, but we were having a good time.
How much storage did you say was on Google Photos?
Your Google account is 15 gigs, and that's everything in your account. So if someone has sent you files in Gmail and there's a lot of, they're using a lot of space, that counts.
Okay.
So it's everything. So there's Google Drive, you know, the docs and the sheets don't take up a lot of space. Mostly it's movies or photos.
Well, I have lots of slideshows and other things. I just never have used my photos on it. So that was interesting.
I've been spending all afternoon. I found out that somehow Google managed to upload all my documents off my computer. It's like,
Oh.
oh my God, stuff all the way back to 2000. And
So you've got your Google
Fine.
Drive turned on or something.
I don't know, somehow they got into my, so trying to,
The problem with computers is they do what you tell them, not what you want them to do. And sometimes you tell them to do things you don't know.
That you don't know, you tell them, yeah.
well, somehow it must have asked me permission to see a document, and unwillingly I gave them permission to see it.
But you need to back up your data either on a
Okay.
external hard drive or in the cloud.
Oh yeah, no, I've got all that. I was just, I had used Google Drive just to upload a few files for people, and I couldn't believe my 15 gig was open, and then now I know why. So
Well, we've got
not
Nancy.
playing.
Nancy's joined us, so I think we have. Hi, Nancy. I'm going to go ahead and start, and a few more people may join us, but this is a good group. This is a.
Fortunately, the hammering has stopped, Rush.
I had my roof done today, redone,
Ooh,
and they
nice.
finished, which is amazing. They started at 7 and they were done by 5. And in the classes, people could hear the hammering, the air nail going bam, 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 bam. And they were doing it right straight above me and during the 11:30 class. And then they had kind of moved off a little bit to the other side of the roof. They could
It was
still hear
so
it.
unbelievably loud. I couldn't believe how much it.
And that's unusual because this is a unidirectional microphone. It tends not to pick up lots of extra sounds, but you could not miss that. So they're done. They'll be back tomorrow to do the last little bit of cleanup. And then I've got another 40 years on my roof and I don't expect to see it.
Oh,
So
my sister-in-law managed to join us. It's nice.
Susan Glasgow.
Yes.
All right.
It's my maiden name.
Very good.
See, I'm a Scot at heart.
So you're a Glaswegian.
Yeah, Glaswegian.
Glaswegian, is that how they say it? Okay. I didn't ask anyone. I just read it. Well, tonight's fun. We're welcoming Melinda, who's going to tell us about home exchange because she's done it a lot and has lots of experiences and will explain it to us. And Melinda is from St. Augustine, Florida, which is actually itself a place to go to.
Nation's
So-
oldest city.
That's right.
We're over 450 years old.
We tend to forget that Florida was not a British colony. It was a Spanish colony at first.
Found it in 1565.
1565. And we're going to go through what home exchange is, how it works. Melinda and I have agreed that there's probably too much about it to explain in one evening. So if folks are interested, we will have a second class. I mean, there will be another introductory class, but then we'll have like a home exchange part 2 where you can come and learn a little bit more in detail about how you would actually go about applying and all that. And we'll look a little bit tonight at the site, but not a lot. And so I'm going to go ahead and start a share screen, but I am going to ask folks to put your questions in the chat tonight, and I will try to review the chat and bring the questions to Melinda's attention. And let me get the screen share going. Home exchange, is it right for you? Everybody see that? That should be, okay, great. And that's Melinda at one of her gigantic doors in Florence. That's one thing they do have in Europe is big doors. Most of you know me. I'm your guide, Russ Eanes from Harrisonburg, Virginia. I'm a writer, walker, and a cyclist, and an avid traveler. Actually, I had some Get Set Up learners visit me yesterday. Some of you may know Frank and Joanne Kohler. They did a presentation on Cuba. They were going through the area and they stopped and had coffee with me, which was really nice. I love all the wisdom and energy I get from older learners. That's why I'm a full-time guide with Get Set Up. And I think you all know that we learn from each other. Ideally, we can see you and your cameras are on. At the end, we'll have a lot of discussion. So it's great if we have our cameras on when we're talking. And we are live streaming this. So if anyone is joining by live streaming, the best way to participate is to join us and register for a class. Lastly, we're not paid to promote any specific products, but we're just sharing about things that we know which work. Tonight, our agenda is to learn what home exchange is. We're going to talk about if home exchange is right for you. Melinda will explain the point system, and then we will talk about where and who to simultaneous exchange with. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Linda. And Melinda, as you're ready to advance a slide, you just tell me. But at the beginning, let's just ask one thing. Melinda, are there any home exchangers in this class? Anybody that's done it besides Melinda? Oh,
Fred and Carl.
I've got quite a few.
And who else?
Donna.
Okay, great.
So there's 3 other home exchangers here. That's excellent. We've got a quorum of experience and wisdom here. So this is great.
So,
Melinda,
yeah.
do you want to introduce yourself anymore?
I guess Melinda Glasgow-Raconce, and avid traveler, and I've been doing home exchange since about 2015, and I'm a solo traveler, which is one reason it appealed to me, because I can sort of settle into a place and have a home base. But I've enjoyed it, and I've met a lot of interesting people through it. But it's something, and it kind of expanded as far as the experience and the way you can do it. So I'll share what I know, and then hopefully we can finish up early enough and have Q&A, and some of the other people that have exchanged would be interesting. And one thing we talked about is possibly having a home exchange interest group in the future if there's enough of us that are exchangers. And homeexchange.com itself is probably the most popular site, although there's more and more sites now. They charge $150 a year for their service, and that includes the listing and insurance to cover any problems you might run into. And it is the service that was used in The Holiday, the film The Holiday, with Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz. So a lot of you are kind of familiar with it in that. Like I said, there are now a whole bunch of them, and I cannot speak to those, but they sort of like Airbnb, they're getting popular, and there are a lot of duplicate services. Like the site says, there's over 400,000 homes listed in 187 countries. That happens to be my front porch here in Florida.
That's one of them.
And the thing I really like about it, and yeah, I pretty much use it for long-term exchanges in Europe, where I like an exchange no less than 2 weeks, preferably a month. And I had one that was even 2 months in the Netherlands. And then, I usually only do one a year. And the nice thing about it is you really get to sort of settle in like a local. You sort of have the experience of living there. You end up grocery shopping. Sometimes you get to know the neighbors, depending on how much the people you're exchanging with sort of introduce you to their friends. And usually when you come away from it, it's not like living out a suitcase. You get much more of a feeling of what it might be like to live in an area. So I think that is what you really go, in my mind, you go into home exchange more for this kind of experience than to simply find a quote, free place to stay. Like I said, it's a membership organization, and you create a profile and a listing of your property. And you're going to find that they sort of help you through it, but the more photos you list of your property and the more rounded profile you give of yourself, the better the exchange will be, because you're really going to want to end up exchanging with like-minded people, and we're places that you really are going to feel comfortable in and kind of know what you're getting before you get over there. Okay. Russ, you can move the slide. Okay.
Oops, I went the wrong way.
That's all
There
right.
we go.
So I kind of boiled it down to sort of the different kinds of home exchanges there are. It's, like I said, for a simultaneous exchange, which means you're in their house and they're in your house at the same time. So you're literally in each other's homes at the same time. And I think that works really well for long-term exchanges, especially abroad. If you're going to go to the expense of flying abroad and getting your house ready, and they too, usually at least 2 weeks makes it worthwhile. Then they have something that you can also do, reciprocal changes that aren't simultaneous. In other words, where you exchange homes, but not at the same time. This works a lot better for people that have second homes, where they can say, okay, you can use, best example is I live down in Florida. Needless to say, I've got a lot of people that want to come down here in the winter, and I have no desire to go up in northern Canada in the middle of the winter while they're down here enjoying my home in warm weather. So one way around that would be is if for some reason I wanted to go to Canada in the summer and they wanted to come down here in the winter, is if I had another place to go during the 2 weeks they came down here, or if I had if Florida was my second home, where I could say, okay, you can have these 2 weeks and I'm living somewhere else. So I really don't, it's not a problem for me to be somewhere else. But for those of us who really are, the home that we're exchanging is our residence, it really means that if someone's going to use your house, you have to be out of it. Another possibility is if you, and I've got a guest suite upstairs that's sort of complete, and I've got it as a listing. It doesn't have a separate entrance because of the zoning of where I live, but it's got its own bathroom, it's got its own TV, it's got a seating area, a small refrigerator, microwave, coffee pot, all that. So I've had exchanges mostly for points, where people come and maybe stay 2-3 nights. I earn so many points, which I can bank, and we'll talk about, and that's the third option, where if you've got a second home or a guest house or like Airbnb, you're willing to host people, you can earn points and then turn around and use that when you travel later. And that works a lot better for shorter stays if you want to use it for just short stays. But again, it doesn't, we can talk about that more in length later, or people that have questions. The main thing is this, well, when we get to the point slide, we'll talk further about that. But as you can see, all three of our home exchange experiences, but they're a little bit different from each other. But at the heart of it all, you have to be someone who really enjoys having house guests, because even when you're not there, you're going to leave them a welcome packet, usually a bottle of wine, crackers and cheese, or a first meal, pamphlets, a booklet of, what to see and do. You've got to, of course, leave instructions on how all the appliances work, usually with photographs, because you realize, especially if you're exchanging with Europeans, we end up with appliances and things that work entirely differently, or the knobs are in a foreign language, and it's so, making sure everyone understands how things work is part of it. But okay, I'll let you go to the next slide. There's a bunch of things to consider, and I on whether or not to really, before you become a member. And the number one thing is, are you comfortable with having someone else in your home when you're not there? That's kind of a biggie. I have friends that go, oh, how can you do that? And it's like, well, it's not for everybody, but you have to be, usually you set up a certain amount of trust, and that's why it's important to get to know the person before you do it. But your first boundary is you've got to be comfortable with letting someone in your house when you're not there. And the second thing is, you can go back, is.
Sorry, I went the wrong way here.
Sorry. Okay, the other thing is you've got to be ready to get your house all prepared, usually by decluttering it, making sure you've got a bedroom, empty closet space, empty drawer space, get it all clean before you leave. And usually there's, let me see, I had some other things that, because of the photo, he wasn't able to get on the thing. Like I said, empty closets. You need to have a room, at least one room or area of the house that you can lock off, that you can put all your personal stuff in, financial information, anything that you would not want someone taking a look at, or something that if it got broken, you would just, it would just kill you. Grandma's priceless thing or something like that. The best thing is just lock that up in the room that you can't use. And then usually, as an exchanger, you both agree that you're going to leave the house exactly the way they found it, if not even cleaner. So usually the last day of your visit, you spend that time getting the house clean, and we each other leave cleaning supplies and all that for each other. So it's not like Airbnb where you come in, and then just walk out and there's maid service that follows you. And the last thing I do say is just double check and make sure there aren't any local laws, or especially if you're in a homeowners association, that would prevent you from exchanging your home. Usually there's not, because it's not a short-term rental, and no money's exchanging hands or anything like that. And as far as any of your neighbors know, you're just exchanging your house with a friend. So, but always double check, especially if you're a member of a homeowners association where there might be some things. Okay, and next. Like we mentioned earlier, is this point system. About 3 years ago, Home Exchange merged with Guest to Guest, which is a European site. And along with that merger came this whole concept of points, where you can let an exchanger use your house for points, which, like I said earlier, can be convenient if you don't want to do a simultaneous exchange. And then, and they've got kind of a system that you can kind of calculate how many points a night to charge. It has to do with the amenities, where you're located, whether it's near a big international tourist site or not, how many people it holds, bedrooms, yada, yada. And so they kind of give you a system to determine how many points a night you might want to charge. But in the end, it's up to you as how much you want to charge. And like I said earlier, this point system works real well for someone that's got a second home or a guest suite in their house that they want to lend out. Okay, well, we can go to the next one, and then we'll just, are there any questions that are showing up in chat, Russ?
Yeah, there's a couple questions. And I think we'll get to these. Jody's asking about car exchange.
Okay.
And well, you can maybe mention that now.
Okay, yeah, that is something that under the old home exchange, car exchange was always part of it. But the old home exchange was really directed at simultaneous home exchangers. And it was before the day of Airbnb, where, you know, so many people turned their houses into either full Airbnbs or have rooms they rent out or all that. And the car exchange used to be one of the boxes you could check. And I've done car exchanges. I actually had someone, my first one was someone in Denmark. They literally sent me their car insurance policy, all in Danish, which I had to run through, probably about 57 pages that I had to run through Google Translate, and found out I probably ended up knowing more about their car insurance than they did when I was done. But the main thing is that in Europe, most countries, like the United States, the insurance goes with the car, not the person. So as long as you have given permission to someone to drive your car, then you're covered. And I always, in this we can cover in home exchange too, but I've always had a car exchange contract that we actually fill out that's got your driver's license number, your insurance number, who to call, where the garage is, yada, yada. And so you have but it can be very convenient because I fly in and out of Orlando, which is about 2 hours from St. Augustine. So I'll drive my car to Orlando. Most international travelers are flying into Orlando. So we obviously have to agree that we're both flying in and out of the same airport. And I'll leave my car at a valet parking where I can leave my keys. They then fly in. They've got a car waiting for them to drive back up to St. Augustine. When the exchange is over, they drive back down to Orlando. And when I fly in, my car is waiting for me. So it works out. It can work out very nicely. Your other option, of course, is to just both of you agree to rent a car. But it can be done, but it's right now the home exchange, since it's merged with guest to guest, it's not one of the highlighted things. You know, it's not like a little box you can check, but you can certainly bring it up to fellow exchangers if they'd be interested in it. And it works out really well if you're going to be there for long term, like a month. And this kind of finishes up when it comes to simultaneous exchange. And I really feel like, go ahead and pick a home that you would feel at home in. Doesn't have to be one that's comparable to your house. I mean, I've chosen houses that are much simpler and smaller because of the location, but it has to be something that, you know, you look at the furnishings and all that, and you just go, yeah, I'd be comfortable living there for a month. And you also will notice from their photographs kind of the level of cleanliness or how cluttered they are and things like that. And the home exchange site will have a full list of amenities: your washer, dryer, TV, Wi-Fi, patio, pool, you know, just a long list of things. And so always make sure that it's got amenities that are a must to you. If you absolutely need to have Wi-Fi because you're going to do some work, or that's how you're going to communicate, or you're going to FaceTime and all that. Make sure, and I would say, about 90% of them do. And but double check and make sure they've got Wi-Fi if that's important to you. Same with a television set, if that's important to you, things like that. You want to move back?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got back.
you
There
got
we
a
go.
jump. The other thing is that it's important in the home exchange site, in addition to having photographs of the house itself, will have a quote, a little profile of the person, which is a separate page you kind of click on. And hopefully that person has, and this is where listing, has done a good job, put a photograph of themselves or a couple, and they explain, we're a retired couple, our children are grown, we're now like to travel. Sometimes we travel with another couple, or sometimes we travel with our grown children. Or we're a family of 5, we've got a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And so you can kind of get an idea. And like I said, the more descriptive, someone might say, I love outdoor sports. I like biking and hiking and the great outdoors. Other people say, I love museums and good restaurants, all that kind of thing. So it really helps to know when you're looking for an exchange, to not just look at a place and go, oh, that's nice, and I'd love to have that, because when I'm going to Paris, and a lot of times when you contact these people, they're not necessarily interested in exchanging with you. So to sort of save yourself a lot of time and headache, and they will also, under the profile, I will usually list where they're interested in going. And in kind of Home Exchange 2, I'll talk about how you can do a reverse search. In other words, I can search for, if say I want to go to Rome, I can search for people in Rome that are looking to come to Florida, and then that'll help really narrow it down. But check, some people will say they're very open. Some people say we're only going to travel in Europe, which means if you're from the United States, don't waste your time contacting this person, asking them for an exchange. Then, like I said, I've always usually spend 4 to 6 months setting up a long-term exchange in Europe. We'll usually Skype or FaceTime ahead of time, or just kind of like this, maybe even Zoom in the future. But where you get to know each other is kind of the way we get to know each other in class here. And you talk over your expectations for each other. And then once it's finalized, and then with Home Exchange, you'll finalize it and the dates are set and everything. And so that's when you can buy your air tickets. And usually once you set dates, they're pretty firm. And unless you then through Home Exchange agree that you're going to, mutually change the dates. And I think Home Exchange, part of the membership, kind of has insurance so that if you get over there, and I have heard from a fellow exchanger that they have shown up at a place and it just totally is not what was pictured. It was dirty. It wasn't located where the people said. And Home Exchange stepped in and found them another place in the area and, took care of it for them. Another thing to consider is exchanging with people about maybe your same age or certainly the same number. So if it's a couple exchanging with another couple, it doesn't mean this is for long-term exchanges. This really works out best because, like I said, if you're exchanging for a month or two, like as a single person, if I'm exchanging with a family of 5, well, obviously my utility bill is going to be a lot higher, when I come home, and there's going to be a lot lower when they come back because it's just me. Even things as paper products, toilet paper, cleaning, all that kind of thing. it's not to say you can't, and usually you sort of agree. Another thing, since I'm talking to retired people and older people, is consider, is your home suitable for a family with young children? You know, a lot of us have kind of reorganized our houses where they're not for kids anymore, or we don't have little children anymore, or maybe we've got grandchildren in which we've got a playroom that the grandchildren always play in. So those are things to think about. And probably the one of the best pieces of advice is be open to offers from other exchangers. Often those can end up being the best, where someone will contact you. And I've had ones where people have contacted me wanting, well, probably one of the more interesting one was a retired couple from the Netherlands who wanted a 2-month exchange. And well, the Netherlands wasn't top on my list, but a 2-month exchange was very appealing. So, and it worked out really well. And I was long enough in the Netherlands that I was like, I used it as a base. Not only traveled around the Netherlands a lot, but I actually flew down to Zurich and visited a friend, you know, for 10 days, because it was just like that length of time. It was like I was living in Europe. So I guess for this sort of introductory course, that's is about what Russ and I thought was the information to cover, mostly so that people could get an idea of what it's like and whether or not it's the kind of thing they'd be interested in. And kind of from this point on, I'd be happy to take questions and see what people would like to know from this point on.
Yeah,
And also we could take some comments from fellow exchangers and things they've learned.
we've got a lot of questions, Melinda. So
Okay.
I'll just start rattling off the questions to you.
Okay.
Jody had a whole bunch. So let me look at, so the first one is just a practical matter for the next class. Jody wants to, she says she would love it if you could show us her instructions or notebooks she leaves in her home for her guests. So that's
okay. I ended up, some people put it all in a binder, you know, and everything. I end up having sort of a packet that's loose where people can you know, carry it around and print it. I sometimes debate it whether I want to go to a booklet or not. I have found when I sometimes have to reprint the sheets, and also it's the kind of case where I changed the washer and dryer one time, got a new one, then I had to end up doing all new instructions and photographs of that kind of thing. And then I also leave out restaurant recommendations. I have a list of things to do, restaurants I recommend, and then I usually leave menus and things like that. Of course, living in St. Augustine, which is a huge tourist destination anyway, there's lots of things to do. And in addition to that, I've typed up interesting drives in the area, you know, things that wouldn't normally, that I personally enjoy doing, interesting walks that I can recommend, in addition to all the local stuff. And I'll usually sweep by the local tourist office and pick up the latest, you know, what the latest pamphlets are and the latest things, and leave those. Like I said, I usually have a table where I have everything kind of left out and stacked in different ways. Like I said, some people put it all in a book, which is nice. I found by leaving them, you know, kind of in different packets, it means they can literally pick it up. And if they want to go into the kitchen with the one sheet that shows you how the stove works, they can just use that and then put it back. But, and like I said, the other is restaurants, things to see and do, you know, how, that kind of thing. But it's the kind of thing, and I usually leave a bottle of wine and maybe cheese and crackers, a pizza in the freezer, you know, things like that. And we usually agree that condiments and anything that's already, you try to get your refrigerator cleaned out. You don't go walking out like you would, and then there's half-eaten salad and a whole bunch of leftovers sitting. You know, you get your refrigerator cleaned. I mean, literally have a good cleaning of the refrigerator, of all your drawers. And then you kind of agree that if there's anything that's, maybe open, go ahead and finish it off if you want, kind of thing. Maybe you've got a big block of cheese of which, well, go ahead and finish it, Usually it's kind of agreed that any unopened packages that happen to be in the freezer or in the pantry, they're welcome to use, but just kind of replace it. It's kind of like, maybe one night they're like, oh God, I don't feel like going to the grocery. What's Melinda got in her pantry, or what's Melinda got in their freezer? Well, it's like, fine, go ahead and help yourself, but just, I'm not leaving you a month's worth of food behind. Part of it is you're going to go grocery shopping, but usually the night they get in, you leave them something so that, like I said, if they want to throw a pizza in the oven and have a couple beers or a couple Cokes, they can, and then they're going to go grocery shopping the next day, and you leave lists of different grocery stores and where's the best place to get wine, and just all kind of things you'd recommend to people. And you have to sort of take the idea of that this is your best friend is coming to visit, or one of your best friends, and you want them to have a nice experience. And I've left beach chairs and beach towels and all kinds of things. And one time someone did come with a young baby, and I went out and borrowed one of those little plate. What do they call it? It's like a playpen that the kid sleeps in,
Pack and
pay. Thank you. So, it's just, it's an experience, and it's, you've got to be someone who's outgoing, who likes people, and you're not overly finicky about, if a glass gets broken, you're not going to get upset about it, And like I said, if you've got wine glasses that belong to your great grandmother, well, don't leave those out for someone to accidentally break, where they feel absolutely awful and you're upset. So,
We got a whole bunch of questions here. So
sure.
let me move this. So Jody also asked, she says she lives in a small house that's less than 1,000 square feet, but it's in Santa Barbara, a desirable location. Do you feel like that'd be a...
Oh yeah. I think, Jody, are you single?
No, no, my husband and
okay. So it's your
I
husband.
live in our little house. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you'd be an excellent candidate for someone like myself or another couple. In other words, if it's big enough for you and your husband, it's going to be big enough for another couple. It might not be big enough for a family of 5. You kind of know that, but sure. I've got a huge house. The second floor isn't even, part of the deal because it's old studio space and everything. But in part of it.
Well, the house is livable. I just wanted to know if most of the houses that are on the exchange, are they larger homes, or
they're everything.
The people that I know that, okay.
They're everything. And I will say, before I became a member, you used to be able to sign up just a name and an email address, the way you can sign up to a lot of stuff. And I used to browse for, it's kind of like HGTV, it's just like, oh, let's see what houses in Florence look like. And, but after doing it a lot, I found that a lot of the people that were doing it were not doing it because they wanted a place free to stay. They were doing it. Some people you could tell from the nice homes or that these were second homes. These people had money. They could easily afford a hotel if they wanted. They just wanted the experience of a home exchange, of being able to live in another house and experience that. And I think, Jody, you'll find kind of by, again, looking at the photographs, it's the kind of place that, you'd feel comfortable and someone else. If they're looking at your house and as long as you've made it clear this is 1,000 square feet and we've got this, and this. The best thing is like I said, is to post as many photographs and be as descriptive as you can so that people, really know what it is you have to offer. And likewise, I've had to ask people, will you post some more pictures or something like that? But who else?
So Jody's got a whole bunch of questions.
Oh, okay, Jody.
Another one, she says, is there a way you can look at the options without joining initially? So she wants to kind of get an idea.
I tried that last week because I was curious, and you can, I found out that I did a test. I went ahead and signed up under my maiden name and an old email address that I don't use, and got that far. And the first thing, pretty much after that, they wanted you to start listing your house. And I stopped right there, and I was curious to see what the site would let me do if I didn't list the house. And I was able to type in, a destination, pull up houses and look at them. But the moment I clicked on trying to look at the other, like be one photograph, but now you want to look at the other 27 photographs they got, and that's where it stopped you. However, it did let you see the site. It let you see the map. Your site always is going to list your photographs, the amenities, a description that you write yourself, the amenities, which, you kind of check ahead of time. And then at the bottom, there's a map. It gives it doesn't obviously give your exact address because you don't want people to know that. But it gives you they do a pretty good job of pinpointing where in town it is. Now, you always double confirm that, because I have run some people that claim they're, live in the middle of Paris. And then when you get right down to it, it's like, no, you don't live right next to the Notre Dame. You live out in some other. So you need to double check that. But the map's important, obviously, because you want to know where you're staying. But what else, Jody?
Okay, so another question. She says, have you become friends with any of the people you exchanged homes with?
Yes, I have. And you don't, like anything, you don't keep in touch with them as much as you hope to. But some of them you'll end up having, like after the home exchange, you'll actually say, send me your email, your direct email, and a phone number, to where then you can actually talk on the phone about things initially. And like I said, foreign, you usually end up Skyping or FaceTiming where it's free, because otherwise a long distance phone call gets to be expensive.
So one thing occurred to me, Jody, if you want to know more about like what a place might look like, is in a further class, Melinda or Donna or Carl or Fred or anyone who's done it could also come and share about some of their experiences. You can get an idea of what it looks like. I mean, Melinda can share more about that. She shared with me a lot about it. So they're probably in a group, or if we had a home exchange group and get set up, you could get an idea what kind of places you could.
It'd be really fun.
You can see quite a bit just by giving them your name and email address at this point. It's just not as, it's a little bit tighter. And when you think about it, you can't blame them, because you don't want thieves just using home exchange to start casing places, even though they don't give your exact address. And through home exchange, once you finalized it or clicked on it, then they'll send you the person's phone number, their direct email address, the exact address. And sometimes even when you're communicating with each other, and you gotten to know, you go, do you mind giving me your exact address or street so I can Google Earth it and see where it really is, and they do.
So here's one more. So one question that kind of relates to that is asked by Lily. She says, are potential members to the program vetted through some kind of background questioning or identity verification?
Home exchange is the new one, is doing that more and more now. They have a thing, it's called Verify, where you're a verified user. And if I remember right, that included home, maybe you had to scan a copy of a utility bill that had your name and your address on it that showed you actually paid the utilities or the water bill at this location. In other words, you're not listing someone else's house, or this isn't, a place that, and then you're listed as a verified exchanger. And when you're doing your searches, you can check the box. I'm only interested in pulling up, places that got photographs and places of a verified exchanger. So for the membership now, and they really,
Manhattan apartment.
pardon? Did someone say something?
Yeah, well, that was, I think Kelly said something. Or asked something.
No, Viera.
Yeah, Kelly?
No, I said it by error. I'm sorry. I was on the website and I was just looking at some of the,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Melinda, do we want to ask Carl or Fred or Donna to share a word about any of their experiences?
I think maybe, I guess not so much experiences, but tips,
Tips, there you go.
that I didn't mention tonight that they'd want to tell maybe wannabes or people that are thinking about it, that some things they ought to think about, or, why you'd encourage it or not, or, like I said, things to double think about before you do it. Carl.
Well, Russ, you asked if somebody did it. I did it once, but not through an organization. We met a nice couple and we became friends, so we switched.
Right.
Oh, very good. Kind of an informal exchange.
Right. For about
Great.
3 weeks.
Oh,
They
nice.
do it, and with home exchange, because you've gone ahead and paid your membership, and they do tell you to make the exchange through them. And people that, sometimes people go ahead and get names and, address and contact and say maybe, oh, I'm only going to do a home exchange for a year. And then I'm going to, get a bunch of contacts and then I'll call them later and try to work out something myself, which you can do. But one thing I think home exchange is trying to do is by doing it through them, you've got a little more protection. Would be, I guess, an example of if you got home and there was some damage, and it was more than a broken glass, and the people that left it didn't leave you a note, nor I'm sorry, here's $25, or I went and bought you a new one, or, something like that. And you got home and you could contact home exchange. And I believe that part of the exchange maybe has like $1,000 worth of insurance, so that they provide and cover. So if something happened, that they can send you a check for, the $326 of whatever it was that, there was a problem with. I just have not run into, very many problems. And that has to do with sort of, you're getting to know the person before you do it. I will say that one thing that I've run into under this new point system and guest to guest is a lot of people have joined home exchange that are Airbnb people or vacation rental people, which means they've got another place. They're used to renting it out for money. They got maid service, and they're treating their home like a business. And you'll go on their calendar and it might say, oh, this is available for 150 points a night. And it's available for, these weeks or these 5 months. It's available, make an offer, and you'll go, oh, okay, that looks nice. And I like the location, just like Airbnb, and you go, yeah, 150 points a night. I've got 1,500 points. So I can afford 10 nights there, so you contact them, or it's actually set up where you can put in the dates and the number of people, and the points are there and it clicks up, and if they accept it, then those points are out of your bank account and into theirs, and it's a done deal. But that usually what happens is the people will, no, or it's already booked, and you go, that's not what well, it's because they're booking it out for money. And it's just nothing wrong with it. And like I said, it does work out good for short exchanges. And like I said, after you, and it's kind of a nice way if you don't mind hosting people that are traveling and you know that your paths are never gonna, you're never gonna want to go where they live. But I'm happy. I always enjoy hosting people here, and sometimes I walk them into town, and I used to be a tour guide and give them a little bit of a walking tours, whatever. And so like I said, it's that kind of thing. But I have found it's not very efficient. Give you a good example. We went to Italy October of 2019. And initially I was trying to set up 2 exchanges, a rather lengthy one. I think I had a 10-day one in Florence, and then I was looking for like another 10-day one in Tuscany. And that's what I was going to do, was just going to go over and have an exchange in each of those places and sort of concentrate in that area. And since I had 2 places that would fit another couple, I invited my brother and sister-in-law who had always wanted to go to Italy. And before I knew it, it's like, well, we'd like to see more of Italy. And I said, what the heck, so would I. And so we had a big itinerary, and I think it ended up, I was there 5 weeks. But I was able to use Home Exchange for 5 nights in Milan using my points, 10 nights in Florence using my points, and about 8 nights in Tuscany in a really nice villa, actually owned by some Americans. And but the rest of the time we were traveling around by train and only staying, I think 3 nights in Venice, 3 nights in Rome, and 3 nights in Cinque Terre. So I just said, let's get Airbnb. We'll get an apartment. We can all stay together, have breakfast and that. But that way we were able to get a place the nights we wanted it. Trying to finagle Home Exchanges for only 3, if you try to piece the whole, trip together strictly on Home Exchange, it's hard to do and not worth all the work it would take. It's much more convenient for your short-term stays and things like that. But recently, right out of COVID, I had someone I'd sort of become friends that lived in Savannah, Georgia, which is just 3 miles north of me. And we tried to do an exchange, and then something came up, and then COVID came up. And so right after, she said, I've had my shots and nobody's in my house. And I've got some high school friends that want to join me. We all want to go down to, so yeah, we just swapped, I think, for 3 nights. And we even agreed that what the heck, if we got down each place and wanted to extend it another night, no problem, because we were in each other's place at the same time. And we were only 3 hours away. So in that case, I literally loaded up the trunk with a cooler of food, and drinks and or snacks, and she did the same. And so we, and I think I ended up getting up to Savannah before they left, so I was able to meet them, and so that was a nice one, and it was kind of a first thing after having our shots in the 2 weeks, and so that worked out real nice.
Well, this has been super, Melinda. We really appreciate your sharing about your experience. I want to note that Donna put a bunch of notes here in the chat, and I'll cut and paste some of those into the class notes that follow.
Okay.
And also, Melinda's got kind of a handout about Home Exchange. We'll attach that.
Okay. What did you decide to do? I had a whole bunch of notes that I sent.
You did. You know what? If you're comfortable with that, Melinda, I'll just attach what you put together for it, and
I guess so.
It'll go along with tonight's slides and some other considerations.
Yeah, and in the future, on the second one, the people that really want to get into it, we can kind of talk about, like I said, reverse changes, what you actually really do. I don't mind even sharing a blank copy of the, I actually used to have a house exchange contract as well as a car exchange. And it's the kind of thing that would hold up in court. No, not necessarily, but it was one of those things that, it really sort of set out the rules and contact information and all that. Now, home exchange does that more now. Like I said, in the old days, it's a pretty old concept. So it was a lot more loosey-goosey. But it also was people that were really into only doing simultaneous home exchanges. And so it's gotten a little more layered now with this whole guest point thing, but there are some advantages to it. But like I said, I do not recommend going into it with the mindset of, oh, I'm looking for a way to stay for free at places, because that's not what it's all about. For one thing, getting your home ready, I mean, it takes a bit of work, and where you really kind of do a good cleaning. And like I said, you want it decluttered, and some stuff I put away and some, you don't, you know what I'm saying. But it can be a very nice experience, and it gives you an opportunity. My first one turned out to be a girl that contacted me from New York City, and she wanted to exchange the month of April. And I think it was like only 2 weeks away. And I went, oh, well, okay, what the heck? Maybe I'll be smarter to do my first exchange in the United States as opposed to Europe. And she was traveling with her cat, wanted to know if she could bring her cat. And I had a dog, and she's like, okay, take your pet with me. I'm bringing my pet. She was actually working she was an art consultant in New York City, had a great penthouse apartment up in Greenwich Village. And it was small studio, but in New York, that's all you needed. But I had a month in New York, and I really learned a lot about what living in New York City's like, right in the middle of Manhattan. No way could I afford to spend a week in New York, much less a whole month. So that worked out fine. And a lot of times, sometimes you have a case of where your exchanger might fly in first, and you might show them the home, or you might fly over and they'll show, and then you take each other to the airport, things like that. So, and sometimes it's strictly an exchange and the cars meet each other. But
well, very good, Melinda. And this is great. We'll be scheduling the next one, so you all watch in June. I think we'll do this kind of introduction again in a few weeks, and then the week after that, we'll do a part 2, where we can share more in depth about how to go about the nuts and bolts for an evening. 1 hour, we'll try to get into 1 hour. And again, really appreciate Melinda. Let's give her some applause. I'm really glad for taking the time. She really did a lot of work to put this together.
Are there anyone,
Linda,
that listen tonight that thinks that might be something they want to do?
Yes.
Or pursue it
Yes.
further?
Looks like you got a bunch of affirmatives,
Yes.
so
Okay,
good
great.
job.
Very interested.
Okay. And I'm going to say goodbye to my brother and sister-in-law.
bye.
And okay, I'll see you in another travel class sometime.
That's right. Good night, everybody. Have a good
Good
evening.
night. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.